The median home price in America right now is $407,000. I found a listing on Zillow for $400 million. $400 million for one house. And it is not even the most interesting listing I'm going to show you today. Today we are going through 10 listings from $1.2 million to $400 million, and I'm going to show you exactly, room by room, detail by detail, what each price tag actually delivers. We start at the bottom. We end at the most expensive home publicly listed in the United States today. Stay until the end, because $400 million has to be seen to be believed. Listing 1, 150 Bethlehem Road, Callicoon Center, New York. We begin in Sullivan County, New York, 2 hours from the George Washington Bridge. 150 Bethlehem Road, Callicoon Center, New York. 3 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, 2,958 square feet. Built in 2004 on 46 acres, listed at $1,195,000, and the listing description opens with a sentence that earned this property a place on today's video. It says, set high above the surrounding countryside, where eagles glide and the air shifts a little quieter. Eagles glide. The listing agent wrote that. In a real estate document, this home was custom built with Californian and Japanese influences, and when you look at the photos, both of those influences are immediately visible. The defining exterior feature is a curved wall of floor to ceiling windows. Not flat glass, curved. On a 2004 custom build in the Sullivan County Hills. Inside, a 2-story stone chimney anchors the main living space. Steel beams frame the view of the forest. The open-plan living, dining, and kitchen area flows together under cathedral ceilings. The chef's kitchen includes marble countertops, a kitchen island, a dedicated tea kettle burner, a specific Japanese design element, and 2 sinks. The listing calls out 2 sinks specifically, because in a kitchen designed for serious cooking, 2 sinks matter. There is also a dumbwaiter. From the garage to the pantry, so that when you return from shopping, you send the groceries up rather than carrying them. On the upper level, 2 bedroom suites, each with mountain views. One of them has a traditional hinoki soaking tub. Hinoki is a Japanese cypress wood used specifically for bathing. It releases essential oils when it contacts warm water and has been used in Japanese bath culture for over 1,000 years. A hinoki soaking tub. In a Sullivan County farmhouse, a suspended balcony overlooks the main living space from above, positioned, and I'm reading from the listing, to take in the ever-changing panoramic view of the mountains and the countryside below. 46 acres of private forest, eagles glide above it, the air shifts quieter. $1,195,000. Tell me in the comments, would you leave the city for this? Because 46 acres and a hinoki soaking tub is a genuinely compelling case. Listing 2, 21 Perenniton Kakela Place, Honolulu, Hawaii. Listing 2 takes us to Hawaii. 2110 Kakela Place, Honolulu, Hawaii. 4 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms. 2,426 square feet, built in 1928, listed at $20,600,000. 1928. This home was built in Honolulu in 1928. Hawaii would not become a U.S. state for another 31 years. This home predates statehood. It predates World War II, which would reshape this island permanently. It was built in an era when Honolulu was a very different city, smaller, quieter, before the Pacific had become the theater of one of the greatest conflicts in human history, and it is still standing on Kakela Place, 97 years later. 4 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, 2,426 square feet in one of the most desirable residential neighborhoods in Honolulu. Honolulu's upper residential neighborhoods, the hillside areas above the city, have a specific quality that is difficult to describe to anyone who hasn't been there. The elevation gives you views of the Pacific that shift throughout the day. The trade winds move through consistently. The temperature at this elevation is cooler than the beach communities. A home built in 1928 in this location was built by someone who understood what this specific piece of land offered, who chose Kakela Place specifically. 25 photos document this property. The bones of a 1928 Honolulu home, the construction methods, the materials, the proportions of rooms built before air conditioning changed how Hawaiian homes were designed are visible in every image. $2,600,000 for a 97-year-old home in Honolulu with 4 bedrooms and 4 bathrooms, in a market where the median home price in Honolulu is $830,000. $2.6 million is premium. What it is buying is the specific, irreplaceable quality of a 1928 build on Kakala Place, a home that has been here for almost a century, with everything that has happened on this island in that time visible if you look in its walls. Listing 3, 97 One Scene 58 TH Place West, Mukilteo, Washington. Listing 3 is currently pending, 9716 58th Place West, Mukilteo, Washington. 4 bedrooms, 5 bathrooms, 5,445 square feet, built in 1979, listed at $5 million, status pending. Someone has already signed a purchase agreement on this. Let me show you what someone decided was worth $5 million in Mukilteo, Washington. The defining feature of this home is glass, specifically soaring domed glass ceilings that cover significant portions of the interior, not skylights. A dome above the living spaces. The light from Puget Sound and the Olympic Mountains enters the home from above and moves across the interior throughout the day. The listing describes a nanowall system. This is a high-end folding glass wall system used in commercial architecture and in the most expensive residential builds. When opened, it eliminates the boundary between interior and exterior entirely. The living room becomes the deck becomes the garden becomes the sound. Inside, Northwest glass art integrated throughout the design. Honed marble, hardwood floors, a wet bar, a wine cellar with a wine and beverage refrigerator, a hot tub and spa, vaulted ceilings in every room, walk-in closets, a walk-in pantry, 2 full primary suites, meaning 2 separate master bedroom setups, each with its own bathroom, closet, and private space. The property is gated. The views of Puget Sound and the Olympic Mountains are unobstructed from multiple rooms. This listing went live at $5,500,000 in November 2025. The price dropped to $5 million. And then, pending, $500,000 price reduction on a $5.5 million home. And then someone said yes at $5 million. Mukilteo sits between Seattle and Everett on the eastern shore of Puget Sound with ferry access to Whidbey Island. The view from the domed glass ceiling of this home on a clear Pacific Northwest morning, I want you to picture that. Someone wakes up every morning under that dome from now on. At $5 million. They decided it was worth it. If this is your first video on this channel, subscribe. We do this every week. New listings, every price range, from $13,000 to $400 million. You want to be here for that. Listing 4, 372 Brownsburg Road, Newtown, Pennsylvania. This next listing has a name and a pedigree. 372 Brownsburg Road, Newtown, Pennsylvania. 4 bedrooms, 3.5 bathrooms, 5,226 square feet. On nearly 30 acres in Bucks County, listed at $5,850,000. It is called the Fulham House. This home was designed by Paul Rudolph, one of the most significant American architects of the 20th century, Dean of the Yale School of Architecture, a designer whose buildings appear in architectural history textbooks, originally conceived in 1959. Completed in 2014, 55 years after it was designed, following Rudolph's original architectural vision exactly. This is a building that waited 55 years to be finished, according to the original plans, by the architect who drew them. The construction material is Pennsylvania fieldstone, the local stone of Bucks County, quarried from this specific landscape. Using fieldstone was Rudolph's deliberate nod to the regional vernacular, a modernist architect reaching into the land itself for his primary material. The design centers on a central open living pavilion, flanked by private wings on either side. A deliberate separation between the spaces where you entertain and the spaces where you sleep. Floor-to-ceiling window walls. Clerestory glass. Windows positioned at ceiling height to capture light at a specific angle throughout the day. And what the listing calls a distinctive floating roofline. That roofline is not decorative. It is engineered to block the high summer sun while allowing the lower winter light to penetrate deeply into the stone walls, which then absorb that heat and radiate it into the rooms. The building is, in a precise architectural sense, a solar heating device. In 1959, by Paul Rudolph. Inside, the interplay of stone, glass, and wood creates what the listing calls tactile richness. This is not a home that photographs completely. It is a home that has to be experienced physically. The weight of the stone, the quality of the light through Rudolph's specifically positioned glass. 4 bedrooms. 3.5 bathrooms, a gourmet kitchen with a kitchen island, soaking tub, walk-in shower, built-ins throughout, wet bar. Wood floors, 72 photos, listed April 16, 2026, active right now. $5,850,000 for a Paul Rudolph designed home on 30 Bucks County acres that waited 55 years to be built. Redfin estimates its value at $2.68 million. The sellers are asking $5.85 million. The gap between what an algorithm says it's worth and what the sellers are asking, that gap is Paul Rudolph's name, and the 55-year story, and the fieldstone. Some things cannot be algorithmically valued. Listing 5, 108 Stratford Crescent, Toronto, Canada. Listing 5 crosses the border. 108 Stratford Crescent, Toronto, Ontario, Canada. 6 bedrooms, 7 bathrooms. Listed at $7,990,000 Canadian. 39 photos on Zillow. Stratford Crescent sits in Lawrence Park, one of the most prestigious residential neighborhoods in Toronto, a tree-lined enclave of large homes built primarily in the early 20th century between Midtown Toronto and the Bridle Path, the neighborhood known as Canada's most expensive street. 6 bedrooms and 7 bathrooms in Lawrence Park, Toronto. For a Canadian buyer, this address communicates a very specific social and geographic status. This is not simply a large home in Toronto. This is a Lawrence Park home. $7,990,000 Canadian translates to approximately $5.8 million US at current exchange rates, which positions this listing precisely between the Mukilteo Glass Dome and the Bucks County Paul Rudolph estate. 39 photos document this property. 6 bedrooms means a home designed for a large family, or for a family that entertains at a scale where guest rooms require their own bathrooms. 7 bathrooms means every bedroom has its own bath, and then some. Lawrence Park homes of this scale typically offer formal living and dining rooms, a chef's kitchen, a finished lower level, and substantial yard space, rare in urban Toronto at this density. $7,990,000 Canadian on Stratford Crescent for the right Toronto buyer, and at this price the buyer pool is very specific. This is not a house. It is a statement about who you are in one of the most financially significant cities in North America. Listing 6, 241 Cunningham Hill Road, Canaan, New York. We are now approaching $10 million, and our next listing stops just short. 241 Cunningham Hill Road, Canaan, New York. Columbia County, in the Hudson Valley, the stretch of countryside between New York City and Albany that has become one of the most sought-after second home markets in the Northeast. 4 bedrooms, 6 bathrooms, 6,829 square feet, built in 2016. 65 photos, listed at $9,950,000. 4 bedrooms and 6,829 square feet means rooms at a scale that modern residential construction rarely achieves. The square footage per bedroom ratio here is over 1,700 square feet. For context, the average American home is 2,300 square feet total. Each implied zone of this home is nearly the size of a typical American house, built in 2016, so this is not historic architecture. This is a current build at the highest level of modern construction, designed for the Hudson Valley landscape. 65 photos document the property. At $9.95 million, the agent photographed everything. Canaan, New York. The northern Hudson Valley. Columbia County has been drawing buyers from New York City for decades, first as a second home market, increasingly as a permanent relocation destination as remote work expanded the viable commuting radius. At $9.95 million in Columbia County, you are at the very top of this market. The buyer for this property is not a weekend house shopper. This is someone for whom Cunningham Hill Road is their primary address. 6 bathrooms across 6,829 square feet of 2016 construction in the Hudson Valley. $9,950,000, just $50,000 below the psychological $10 million threshold, which tells you exactly what the seller decided when they chose that number. Listing 7, 27 River Road, New Hope, Pennsylvania. And now we cross 10 million. This is called Riverscape. 27100 River Road, New Hope, Pennsylvania. Bucks County, the same river where George Washington crossed on Christmas night, 1776. 4 bedrooms, 6 bathrooms, 4,048 square feet, built in 2020, listed at $9,995,000. 82 photos. Let me tell you what this building actually is, because the listing description is the most technically specific real estate document I have encountered. This home is supported by deep helical piles, a 141-piece structural steel frame, and 3 14-foot high trusses that cantilever the home over a sculptural poured concrete pedestal on the original 1930s cottage footprint. 141-piece structural steel frame, 3 14-foot trusses, cantilevered, over the Delaware River. The original structure on this land was a 1930s river cottage. The new owner tore it down, used its footprint as the concrete pedestal, and above that pedestal, on a 141-piece steel frame, built this. The base of the pedestal has engineered vents that allow river water to pass safely through during flooding. The building is designed to let the Delaware River pass through its foundation on 8 private acres with over 1,100 feet of river frontage. Inside, an Arcadia aluminum curtain wall system, commercial high-rise glass facade technology, installed residentially. Full height walls of glass on all exposures, 2 entertainment decks extending directly over the river, modern Vouloe, argon-filled windows, meaning the glass is thermally engineered to insulate while remaining visually transparent. The Delaware River is the view from every major room. 4 bedrooms, 6 bathrooms, a kitchen fitted for a home at this level. This property sold in 2015 for $1 million. At that time, it was described as a riverside cottage, a quiet retreat. Someone bought it for $1 million, demolished the cottage, designed and built a 141-piece steel-framed home cantilevered over the Delaware, and listed it for $9,995,000. $9 million in construction vision, on top of $1 million land purchase. On the river where Washington crossed. 82 photos, all of them on Zillow right now. Listing 8, 9525 Dore Road, Spring, Texas. Now we make a significant jump. $11 million. 19525 Dore Road, Spring, Texas. North of Houston. 15 bedrooms, 36 bathrooms, 30,000 square feet. Let me contextualize 30,000 square feet for a moment. The average American home is 2,300 square feet. This property is 13 times that. The White House has 55,000 square feet total. This home is more than half the size of the White House. 15 bedrooms and 36 bathrooms means more bathrooms than bedrooms, by more than double. Built in 1999. Listed at $11 million in Spring, Texas, a suburb north of Houston, not Beverly Hills, not Manhattan, Spring, Texas. At 30,000 square feet with 15 bedrooms and 36 bathrooms, this is not a family home in the traditional sense. This is a compound. A private estate built for a specific kind of life, large staff, regular large-scale entertaining, multiple generations or multiple families under one roof. The listing has 39 photos. 39 photos of 30,000 square feet. $11 million in Spring, Texas means your dollar goes significantly further than in a coastal market. In Malibu or the Hamptons, $11 million buys you something far smaller on far less land. In Spring, Texas, you get 30,000 square feet and 36 bathrooms. What you do with 36 bathrooms in Spring, Texas, that is between you and your architect. Tell me in the comments, what room in this house would you use first? Listing 9, 157-163 Spindrift Road, Carmel, California. And now, a number that changes the scale of this video. $91,350,000. $91,350,000. 157-163 Spindrift Road, Carmel, California. The Carmel Highlands. This property is called Seacliff, and it is unlike anything else on today's list. 5 contiguous lots on Spindrift Road, one of the most famous addresses on the California coast, combined into a single compound. 5.35 acres, with almost 1,000 feet of private oceanfront coastline. 1,000 feet. That is nearly 1/5 of a mile of private Pacific coastline. Seacliff is not one building, it is a collection. The centerpiece is the Lodge, an 8-bedroom, 12,441 square foot mansion, built in 2017. The interior centerpiece is a library with a gold leaf domed ceiling. A gold leaf domed ceiling. In a library. On the Pacific cliffs of the Carmel Highlands, 2 fully appointed cottages, each with their own living rooms and bespoke kitchens. 2 additional guest cottages offering 1-bedroom luxury cabin experiences. Total across the compound, 13 bedrooms, 17 bathrooms. 18,766 square feet of interior space. The center courtyard of the lodge has a waterfall pool and hot tub leading into a gym. Meandering paths cut through what the listing calls the breathtaking oceanside gardens, multiple meditation areas, and 3 coastal access stairways that bring you down to the edge of the Pacific. 3 separate ways to walk down to your private section of the Pacific Ocean. 150,000 pounds of mossy boulders were installed on this property. Imported. Placed. 150,000 pounds of rock, positioned to create the specific visual character of this compound. Large floating flagstone steps, multiple seaward viewing posts, 6 enormous rustic fireplaces in the cottages alone, and all of this in an ancient cypress forest. These are old-growth Monterey cypress trees, some of them hundreds of years old, growing in the specific coastal fog belt that defines this stretch of California. The listing says Seacliff is one of the most dramatic oceanfront properties in the world. It has been on the market since August 2025 at $91,350,000. Someone has not yet said yes to 1,000 feet of private Pacific coastline, a gold leaf library, 3 coastal stairways to the ocean, and 150,000 pounds of placed boulders. At $91 million, the pool of buyers is genuinely small. But the pool of people who will watch this video and think, if I had $91 million, that is significantly larger. If you want to see more listings like this, the ones that make $91 million feel like a completely rational number once you understand what it's buying, subscribe. I find these every week. Listing 10-1101 Salon Road, Bel Air, Los Angeles, California, $400 million. This listing, 11201 Salon Road in Bel Air, Los Angeles, is the most expensive residential listing currently available in the United States, possibly in the world. It was listed in April 2026. Let me tell you what $400 million buys you. The property is called the Crown Jewel of Los Angeles. That is not marketing language. That is the official name of this listing. The Crown Jewel, 8 acres, in Bel Air, flat, which is extraordinary. Bel Air is a hillside community. Flat acreage in Bel Air of this scale does not exist. Except here. The estate sits on a promontory, an elevated flat platform, overlooking the Bel Air Country Club, with unobstructed views spanning from downtown Los Angeles to the Pacific Ocean. From any point on this 8-acre estate, you can see simultaneously the Pacific Ocean to the west and downtown Los Angeles to the east. This property was designed by Peter Marino, one of the most influential architects and designers working in the world today, known primarily for designing flagship stores for Chanel, Louis Vuitton, and Dior. His residential commissions are extraordinarily rare. This project took a decade to complete. Construction began in the early 2010s and was completed in 2018. 10 years for one property. The main residence spans approximately 50,000 square feet across multiple living areas. It has 2 full kitchens, one for the family, 1 commercial kitchen for catering large-scale events. Supporting those kitchens, 8 service and butler pantries, a movie theater, a full spa with separate facilities for men and women, an indoor pool, a hammam, a traditional steam bath, cold plunge and hot plunge pools, dedicated massage suites, a gym, a Pilates studio, a beauty salon in the house, not a bathroom vanity, a beauty salon, 10 family bedrooms, 13 staff bedrooms. In the main residence alone, the guest house adds 6 guest bedrooms and 10 additional staff bedrooms. Total across the compound, 39 bedrooms, 59 bathrooms. This property requires staff to function. It was designed for it. The staff quarters are not an afterthought. They are a significant architectural allocation within a 70,000 square foot compound. The views. From the flat 8-acre promontory in Bel Air, the Los Angeles basin spreads in every direction. Downtown visible on clear days. The Pacific visible to the west. The Bel Air Country Club below. Peter Marino positioned every major room to capture a specific view orientation. This is not accidental framing. This is an architect who spent 10 years deciding exactly what each window should face. $400 million. To give you a sense of what that number means, $400 million is more than the GDP of several small countries. It is more than the annual revenue of many publicly traded companies. It is the asking price of one house on Salon Road in Bel Air. The Zestimate, Zillow's automated valuation, says $46,414,700. Zillow says $46 million. The sellers are asking $400 million. That is a $353 million gap, which tells you that the algorithm, however sophisticated, cannot fully price a decade of Peter Marino's time, or 8 flat acres in Bel Air, or views from downtown to the Pacific, or a beauty salon. Some things exceed the model. The crown jewel of Los Angeles, 11201 Salon Road, $400 million. On Zillow, right now, 10 listings. All of them real. All of them on Zillow or connected real estate platforms. All of them available for the right buyer. Here is what I take away from this every time. At $1.2 million, you get 46 acres, eagles gliding, and a Hinoki bathtub. At $400 million, you get 8 Bel Air acres and a beauty salon. The gap between those two numbers is not just money. It is a specific vision of what a life can look like. And somewhere between the Callicoon Center hillside and the Bel Air promontory is a number that represents exactly what you would build if you could. Drop that number in the comments. Your budget, real or imaginary, and which listing on today's video it buys. Subscribe if you want to keep doing this. New listings, every price range, every week.